Yesterday, I looked at a piece published on Salon called "I'm a Pedophile but Not a Monster." The piece put forward ideas I found perfectly reasonable. For example, the idea that making it easier for pedophiles to say they're pedophiles can protect children. Open support groups of pedophiles that provide an alternative to those groups that advocate actually touching children are a good idea. I think that's probably right. And there are, of course, other suggestions that I completely disagree with, but that wasn't my key issue. This wasn't someone speaking as a pedophile, just presenting their ideas as solutions to an issue. This was someone speaking on behalf of non-offending pedophiles as a group. You know, too often we suffer in silence. That's why I decided to speak up. If we are going to make it in the world without offending, we need your help. Listening to me was a start. Although he does describe it as a handicap or a curse, to me, his approach turns being a pedo or non-offending pedo into a kind of social or group identity. All I really said in the first video was that I disagree with that approach. But what difference does it make if he's presenting more or less the same kind of solutions anyone else would? I think when you take that approach and you are someone speaking on behalf of such a group, your arguments become a way to find allies rather than just really solve a problem. It becomes an issue of siding with or against this group identity. Now, I will admit that this might not seem too apparent in the first piece. It might just seem like I am nitpicking language, which is something I like to do. I'm effectively saying the guy is preventing child abuse as a reason to side with his group, rather than just presenting changing your perspective on pedophiles as a way to prevent child abuse. With the example of the first article, I understand why people disagree with me or don't see what I'm saying. In his second article, however, I think the reason for my objection to his particular approach becomes a bit clearer. I'm a pedophile. You're the monsters. My week inside the vile, right-wing hate machine. My pedophilia essay outraged the right. My attempt to humanize a real problem brought out their nastiest rage. Again by Todd Nickerson, and again published on Salon.com. Sure, plenty of right-wing sites did attack him in the piece. Plenty of random right-wingers did too, alongside sites and random people that I would not call right-wing. But for some reason, opposition being right-wing is the most important thing. Why? Does that help with the cause of getting society to stop viewing pedophiles as subhuman monsters? Or does it more just work toward getting Salon's audience to side against the right-wingers? And so, with him. But why is that necessary? Do you think he believes that this is going to encourage people on the right to try to understand? Do you think he believes that this approach is going to help his fellow non-offending pedophiles get the support he says they need to not offend? As someone who's seen fit to speak for non-offending pedophiles as some kind of collective, we need. Does this not kind of screw over right-wing pedophiles? Who he acknowledges, he says there are people of all sorts of different beliefs on his forums. Anyway, let's take a look at the paragraph where he provides a general characterization of the right-wing hate machine. With regard to angry respondents to my article, the greatest amount of flack has come from the far right, who smeared Salon for daring to allow me to speak, as if silencing pedophiles somehow equates to fighting sexual abuse. I want to state for the record that the members of our forum come from all political, religious, and philosophical stripes. We are a pretty diverse group, but we really don't fight about God or politics internally. Our mission is too important to get caught up in that. But according to Breitbart and company, since Salon was willing to publish my piece, it must mean they have some secret agenda to, quote, normalize pedophilia, unquote. The constant refrain of these folks is the old slippery slope argument, where they resort to appealing to people's fear of a future where anyone can marry anyone or anything. These ultra-conservatives reject the notion of pedophilia being a sexual orientation not on scientific grounds but on purely political ones. They resist the word that best fits our sexuality, which many experts are now using themselves. In so doing, they are assuming that people are too dumb to understand that a term does not justify an activity. It is merely recognition of a state of being. Okay, but why is it so important to tell Salon's audience that the people doing this are predominantly far right? I mean, this will probably get some people on your side, but only in an enemy of my enemy kind of way. I personally think that pedophilia requires some recognition beyond just being considered a sexual orientation. Otherwise, why not just add it to LGB? They are a sexual minority. If this guy's anything to go by, they are keen on having a group identity, and along with that is going to come some kind of sexual identity culture. However, like I said, I do not consider it comparable. Even if pedophiles are born predisposed to become pedophiles, I'm sorry, but I still consider it a disorder, to the point that I don't think it's suitable to just put it alongside other sexual orientations without marking it out. But And this is a big but. I do not think that is necessarily a barrier to the idea of society treating pedophiles in a way that means they can come out and get help. And if the point of calling it a sexual orientation would be to make people more comfortable with pedophiles so they don't view them as monsters, wouldn't the entire point be to line it up with the other sexual orientations without marking it out? Otherwise, it wouldn't do anything he wants it to, so why would he care? I personally think that the issue of pedophilia should be approached more as a problem to be solved than a group to be helped. If helping non-offending pedophiles is part of the solution, cool. But I disagree with presenting how society treats pedophiles as the cause of them offending, even if you just try to pin it on the right-wingers. From elsewhere in the article, following saying that Stephen Crowder's solution to sex offenders is to shoot them, and his solution to pedophiles is to exile them, the writer says, "My takeaway from all of this right-wing bile is the same thing I realized about the vigilante groups who persecuted us. These people really don't care about protecting kids. They have a political investment in maintaining a hardline approach to anyone who defies their simplistic black and white worldview. If kids are harmed because some pedophiles weren't able to come forward and seek help in this apocalyptic environment, well then, they're just collateral damage. Even if everyone took Crowder's view, even if that prevented a pedophile from getting help and they molested a child, that would have happened because that person is a pedophile, has urges to do sexual things with children, and acted on them, not because society failed to stop it. If you molest a child, it is your fault, whether you are a pedophile or not." Look, I don't think these articles are going to do anything. The approach, though, is just one I hate. If he were just talking as someone who is a pedophile on his ideas about what would help the issue of pedophilia, you could go along with it, you could pick out some ideas you think are good and drop the bullshit. A situation where you've got this guy educating you on what needs to be done to support this non-offending pedophile collective he's part of and speaks for, though, that needs you to swallow it all. Unless, of course, you're part of the vile right-wing hate machine that doesn't care about children, or you're just ignorant and unreasonable. But, as usual, that's just another one of my harmful opinions.